While waiting for my husband to wake up after surgery, his phone buzzed with a text from his mistress, "Tell your wife you're not coming home." When I showed him, he smiled weakly and said, "She makes me feel alive." I walked out of that hospital room without looking back, and he came home to an empty house and divorce papers. We lived in Naperville, Illinois. 15 years in the same two-story house, same routine, same life. Brian and I met in college. He wasn't some smooth talker or big personality. He was calm, steady, dependable, or at least that's what I thought. He worked for a logistics company downtown. Long commutes, long hours. At first, I thought it was just part of life. You get married, you work hard, you build something. I had a part-time job I loved, raised our 2 kids, handled everything at home while he climbed the ladder. He used to come home tired, fall asleep on the couch, barely talk. I chalked it up to stress. I defended him when the kids asked why he missed soccer games or school nights. I used to say, "Your dad is working hard for us." I believed that. Then he had the accident. He was driving back from a business trip in Milwaukee. It was late. Rainy. A semi-truck changed lanes without seeing him, clipped his front end. He spun out, slammed into the guardrail. He walked away with a busted shoulder, but he needed surgery. I took the day off. Sat in that cold hospital waiting room for hours. I didn't complain. I brought snacks, a book, his favorite sweatshirt. I was worried sick. When they let me into recovery, he was drowsy, pale, barely awake. I held his hand. Told him he did great. I was right there beside him. Then his phone buzzed. It was on the table next to his bed. Screen lit up. I wouldn't have touched it, but something about the timing, the way it buzzed just once, it felt off. So I looked. "Tell your wife you're not coming home." No name. Just that. A knife to the chest. I turned the screen toward him. "Brian, what the hell is this?" He blinked slow, like it took effort to process. His lips moved. He gave a lazy half-smile and said, "She makes me feel alive." That was it. No shame. No apology. Just that. I stood up, quiet. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I grabbed my purse, walked out of that hospital room, and left him there. I didn't even look back. I got home. The kids were still at school. I sat at the edge of our bed and stared at the floor. I wasn't heartbroken. Not really. I was pissed. 15 years. I gave everything. I was loyal. I held our family together. And he gave it all away. I didn't waste time. Called a lawyer that afternoon. One I'd met years ago through a friend. He was sharp. He told me what to do next. I boxed up his stuff. Methodical. Shirts, shoes, tools, chargers. Everything of his went into the garage. I called a locksmith. Changed the locks. Cut off his access to our joint bank account. Froze the credit cards. I found his old iPhone in a drawer. Still logged into his cloud. His idiot self had backup turned on. I opened the photo album. Hundreds of pictures. Some in hotel rooms. Some in his car. One where she was wearing his hoodie. I went through messages. Her name was Elise. She was a sales rep, married. 2 kids. Lived in Milwaukee. They'd been seeing each other for almost a year. She sent pictures. He sent poems. Poems. He never even wrote me a birthday card. I saved every message. Every screenshot. I printed them out. Labeled every page. Put it all in a folder. 3 days later, he came home. He had his bag slung over one shoulder, arm still in a sling. He looked around, confused. Our living room was clean, cold, quiet. No toys. No pictures on the wall. Just a single manila envelope on the kitchen table. Inside, divorce papers, a letter from my attorney, and that text message. He called me. I didn't answer. He texted, "Can we talk?" "Please, I didn't mean what I said." "She doesn't matter. You're blowing this up for nothing." I sent one message back. "She makes you feel alive. Go live with her." He showed up at my sister's house the next day. She didn't let him in. Told him to leave. I watched from the window as he stood outside with that same lost look. I didn't feel sorry. I felt done. He tried to drag things out. Said we could work it out. Said the kids needed both parents. Said he'd go to therapy. I sent his own messages to my lawyer. Every photo. Every voicemail. Every timestamp. Then I found Elisa's husband on Facebook. I sent him a folder titled, "Thought You Should Know." I didn't say much else. Just sent the proof. All of it. He messaged me back the next day, "Thank you. I had no idea. She's gone." 2 weeks later, Elise filed for temporary housing. Her husband filed for divorce. Took the kids. She lost her job. Ethics clause violation. Brian was called into HR, got demoted. Eventually fired. Nobody at his office wanted to work with him after that. Word got around. He texted me again, "You ruined my life." I didn't answer. Now he lives in a one-bedroom apartment in Schaumburg. No job. No girlfriend. No family dinners. Just quiet. I don't check on him. Don't need to. My kids are with me full-time. They know something happened, but I don't badmouth their dad. I let the silence speak. I let the truth show itself over time. People always ask if I'm okay. I am. Better than I've been in years. About 3 months after he lost his job, Brian stopped paying child support. At first, I thought it was just a delay. Maybe some banking issue. I waited a week. Then another. Nothing. I called my lawyer. He reached out. Brian claimed he was between jobs and trying his best. I didn't believe him. So I checked. Turns out, he had picked up a part-time under-the-table job at a friend's auto body shop in Downers Grove. Cash only. No paper trail. He thought he was smart. Thought if there was no record, he wouldn't have to pay what he owed. I brought the proof to court. Judge wasn't amused. They ordered him to pay back support, plus penalties. Garnished what was left of his savings. Froze his accounts. I didn't even smile in court. I sat still, quiet, watched him squirm. After that, things got petty. He started telling lies to the kids. Said I kicked him out. Said I wanted someone else. He played the victim. My son, Evan, came home crying one night, asking why I didn't want dad around anymore. That was the moment I stopped holding back. I sat both kids down and told them the truth. Not every dirty detail. But enough. Enough for them to understand that their father made choices, bad ones, and I was protecting them. They didn't ask again after that. Then Elise reached out to me. That shocked me. She sent an email, no subject line, just 3 sentences, "I'm sorry." I didn't know he was lying to me too. I lost everything. I hope you're doing better. I stared at that message for a long time. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to be cruel. But because she wasn't my problem. She never was. She just got swept up in his mess, same as I did. 2 weeks after that, my lawyer got another notice from Brian's side. He was trying to get joint custody again. Out of nowhere. He had no stable income, no housing fit for 2 kids, and yet he wanted 50-50. The judge denied it before we even made it to court. Then came the bombshell. I got a call from a woman named Angela. She introduced herself in a flat voice and said, "I think your ex-husband was seeing my sister too. During the time he was with that Elise woman." I sat down. "Excuse me?" She said, "My sister met him on a dating app. He said he was separated. That his wife was emotionally abusive. That he was raising his kids alone. I just saw your name in court records online. Thought you should know." So I dug deeper. Turns out, Brian had been on at least 3 dating apps while he was with Elise. Used fake names. Claimed different jobs. Told different stories. And this wasn't new. I found out he'd been unfaithful for years. Not just Elise. Not just this Angela's sister. He'd had at least one affair every year going back to 2015. While I was pregnant with our daughter. While my father was dying of cancer. Even during our 10th anniversary trip to Colorado. He lied so easily. So often. I realized something then. Brian didn't cheat because he fell in love with someone else. He cheated because he was hollow. Because he couldn't sit still with a life that was real. He needed lies to feel important. He needed secrets to feel powerful. He sent me another email after his custody motion failed. "You win. Hope you're happy." No apology. Just bitterness. I didn't respond. But I wasn't done yet. A few months passed. Things got quieter. I thought maybe that was the end of it. Brian wasn't showing up, wasn't calling, wasn't pushing back in court. For a while, it felt like he finally gave up. Then I got a call from Evan's school. The principal wanted to talk about something serious. I drove over, thinking maybe it was a fight or some trouble with grades. I wasn't prepared for what she told me. Apparently, Brian had shown up at the school, without permission, without even telling me, and tried to sign Evan out early for lunch. Evan refused. Said he felt uncomfortable. The school stopped it, thank God, because I had full legal custody and Brian wasn't on the emergency contact list anymore. But Evan was shaken. He said Brian told him, "Your mom's turning you against me. Don't believe everything she says." That was it. I called the police. Filed for a restraining order the same day. My lawyer backed it with everything. Past court rulings, evidence of instability, his employment history, even testimonies from 2 other women he'd lied to. The court approved it. He wasn't allowed within 200 feet of the kids, their school, or my home. He tried to fight it, but he had no case. No money for legal help. No real job. He was unraveling. And he knew it. Then I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. Inside was a 5-page rant. From Brian. He accused me of destroying his life. Said I turned the kids against him. Said I embarrassed him in court, ruined his career, and made him a shadow of the man he used to be. He ended it with, "You'll regret this when the kids grow up and see who you really are." I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I laughed. A bitter, tired laugh. Because after all of it, the cheating, the lies, the manipulation, he still believed he was the victim. He never once took responsibility. A week later, Elisa's ex-husband called me. Yes, called. I didn't even know he had my number, but he introduced himself politely and said, "You were right about everything. And I just thought you should know." Brian reached out to Elise again. My stomach turned. He said, "She didn't reply, but I saw the messages." Same playbook. He said he missed her. That they could start over now that the dust had settled. Called you crazy and said you faked evidence in court. I thanked him. Hung up. Sat in silence. That was when it hit me. Brian wasn't just reckless, he was dangerous. Not in the physical sense, but emotionally, mentally. A man who refused to stop. Who would spin lie after lie until someone finally gave in. He wasn't done trying. So I decided to be proactive. I made a public record request and got all our court filings together. Organized every statement, every ruling, every bit of testimony. Then I created a digital folder titled, The Real Brian, for anyone who needs it. I didn't post it online. I'm not that kind of person. But I shared it privately, with the school, with the daycare, with the community sports board, even with a few mutual friends who still didn't know the truth. Just facts. No drama. I wanted it to be there for the next woman who might run into him. For anyone he tried to con next. Brian always thought he was 10 steps ahead. That women would cover for him, defend him, protect his reputation. Not this time. This time, I made sure there was a trail behind him. A real one. But that wasn't the final twist. 2 months later, I got a message from a woman on Facebook. Her name was Jill. She said she was Brian's cousin. She lived in Arizona, but she was visiting Illinois and wanted to talk. I ignored her at first. But curiosity got the better of me. We met at a diner just off I-88. She slid a folder across the table. I think you should see this. Inside were emails. Dozens of them. From Brian. To family. To friends. All dated over the last year. All full of lies. He told people I had mental health issues. That I cheated first. That I had weaponized the kids against him and forged court documents. He told someone I was using drugs. Someone else that I had a breakdown and had to be hospitalized. None of it was true. Jill said, I don't know what happened to him. But this isn't the cousin I grew up with. I just nodded. Because I knew exactly who he was. And I wasn't finished yet. After that meeting with Jill, something in me changed. Up until then, I thought I just wanted peace. I wanted to move on, raise my kids, leave the wreckage behind. But Brian wasn't letting that happen. He wasn't just some sad ex trying to get sympathy. He was dangerous in the worst way, quiet, manipulative, and relentless. He was still lying to everyone. Still poisoning minds. Still playing the victim while dragging my name through the dirt. I knew what I had to do. It started with a phone call. I remembered Elise had said she lost her job because of an ethics clause. Brian had been using a company car, company card, and company email while he cheated. I wondered, had he done that with anyone else? So I dug. Through old emails, cloud backups, even some receipts I had stashed in our filing cabinet. And sure enough, he had used his company card for hotel rooms during at least 3 other business trips. I found out the name of one of his former supervisors. I reached out. Very calmly, I said, I believe your former employee was involved in multiple violations that were never disclosed. I'm sharing this because other women were affected, and he continues to use his past employment to gain sympathy and manipulate people. They listened. Hard. Turns out, Brian had been applying for jobs again. He had interviews lined up with companies that hadn't yet seen his real record. They thought he had resigned for family reasons. Not anymore. I made sure they got the full picture. Documents. Photos. Legal records. Even statements from Elise's ex and Jill. Within 2 weeks, 3 companies dropped him from their hiring process. Then I sent the folder, the same one I'd shared privately, to his landlord. It wasn't spite. It was warning. Brian had stopped paying rent. Was blaming court fees and alimony. I didn't even need to say much. Just sent the documents and let them draw their own conclusions. They started eviction proceedings that same month. Then the final nail. There's a group in Naperville, a quiet group of parents and professionals, who work with local women's shelters and legal aid. I told them my story, backed with every bit of paper I had. I wasn't the only woman Brian had manipulated. Not by a long shot. They helped me start something bigger, a legal complaint for defamation and harassment. It wasn't about money. It was about silence. I wanted him to stop contacting me, stop stalking the kids, stop reaching out to mutual friends pretending to be worried about my mental state. I wanted a court order that would finally shut every door he might try to reopen. And I got it. The judge reviewed the letters, messages, fake reports he'd made, and even statements from his own cousin and Elise's ex-husband. Final ruling? Brian was banned from contacting me directly or indirectly. He couldn't speak about me publicly. Any lie he told could now cost him real money, and even jail time. The last time I saw him was during that hearing. He walked in with an old, rumpled suit. Hair messy. Eyes tired. He looked nothing like the man I married. No confidence. No swagger. Just a shell. He tried to speak at one point, but the judge cut him off. I walked out of that courtroom holding the final papers in my hand. Not divorce papers. Not custody orders. Power. Real, legal, quiet power. It's been almost 2 years since I walked out of that hospital room. My kids are happy. I sleep well. I go to yoga on Thursdays and drink iced coffee on my porch when the weather's good. I got promoted at work. I even started dating again, not seriously, but on my terms. Brian? He moved out of state. Last I heard, he was living with an old high school buddy in Indiana, trying to start over again under a new name on dating apps. A few women in a Facebook group already warned others about him. Word spreads fast now. He's not coming back here. He knows better. And me? I still keep the folder. Not out of anger. Out of memory. A reminder of what I survived, what I protected my kids from, and how much stronger I became when I stopped making excuses for someone who never deserved me. Brian thought he could betray me and walk away clean. Instead, he walked into the slow burn of consequences, lit by his own hand. I didn't scream. I didn't fight dirty. I just kept receipts. And when the time came, I let the truth do the talking. That was enough. That was everything.